It's time for your Talk Time Live exclusive.
You are now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming back to the show is an extremely talented artist known for his work with UDON Entertainment during the Street Fighter series, as well as his original series, Random Views. He is now bringing his electrifying talent and art style to Marvel Comics, as he is working on a miniseries, and very awesome miniseries called Avengers, Tech on Avengers. He is here to talk about that and much more. Folks, please welcome back Jeffrey Chamba Cruz to Talk Time Live exclusive. Jeff, welcome back.
G'day, Dex. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. You are always a great dude. I've always been a big fan, but to be able to get to know you and talk with you, and we, get a chance to meet you personally when you came to my neck of the woods, it's just been an awesome experience, and it's a pleasure. Absolutely.
Thanks again. No, thanks again. It was also really fun going to those areas of the United States for conventions. It's
I'm just glad before COVID came in, you got a chance.
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. Dude, I'll be honest with you. That's one of the things that I truly miss right now is specific, like cheesesteak, just American food, but cheesesteak. Of American food, I think cheesesteak is one of the ones that I truly do miss. There's a lot of food that I miss during travels, But
and if I'm correct, I was the one that gave you your first one, right?
Oh yeah.
See, people.
Plus, I mean, like I had a bunch during that period, like more than I needed to. But to be fair, I would love to have one right now. It's
if I really could find a way.
Whew. Yeah, dude.
FedEx.
If there was a way, I'd take it frozen and I'll just bake it or grill it here.
Let's put it like this. I will keep that in mind.
There has to be a way. There's got to be a way.
Look, I know rich people can do it a lot of time.
That's what I'm saying. Like if they can travel it across, from one end of the country to another, there's got to be a way to do it international. I just don't know how much that thing's gonna cost.
For you, it might be worth it. What can I say?
I don't know, yeah. But I'd rather be there, to be honest, though.
And under the unfortunately, we are reuniting under unfortunate circumstances, because last year we were just starting with this whole pandemic. This year, we were hoping that if we reunited, it would be back. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Before we even get started, how are you doing? How is your family doing? First of all, I'm glad to see that you're looking healthy now with all this.
I'm doing healthy is it's a great term. I mean, I'm definitely health-wise, the family's doing good, thankfully. My parents, they're seniors, so they've actually got their shots already.
Okay.
Because
thank goodness.
That's what's allowed here. My brother's family's good. I'm doing good. I'm normal. I'm normal as I can be, I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad that your parents got it.
Yeah. That's to me. That was the main.
Way
thing.
more important.
I don't want them to get affected.
I wasn't trying to go outside myself until I knew. I was like I can hold off. Give it to the seniors. Give it to everybody.
Oh yeah. Same man. Likewise. I'm patient enough to be like, hey, get it to the people that need it the most at the moment. So
like I said last year, we're in a good. We're to have this during this time and era where all this technology and entertainment. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to leave the house if I really have to.
It's healthy to do so from a mental standpoint, but
I mean, that's why I take daily walks. To me, that's the important thing. If I can get that in at least, then I'll be fine for the rest of the day. I get my sun in, then I get my air, I get fresh air and whatnot. So, and I get my obviously some exercise, and that's it. But I'm good. I'm good where I'm at the moment, which is it's kind of a weird thing to say considering what state of affairs the world's in currently. But I know people were like, it's difficult to work from home and such, and I'm like, this is all I've known personally.
Right.
I've never really had to go to an office or a studio to work. So
I don't know who you talk to, but I used to work in an office for over a decade. I'm telling you, this is the deal.
Right. And I've noticed a lot of people now, it's like, it's, the productivity of working from home is actually super good.
Oh yeah.
Good for the mental state, good for the,
it is stress-free.
Productivity. Yeah. You're in the comfort of your home. So long as the work gets done, it's almost like, do you need to even go to the office now? So a lot of companies now are even thinking about
Absolutely.
So it's definitely opened up eyes for a lot of situations.
Yeah. Like,
personally, I'm doing good.
You can never do this 10, 15, 20 years ago.
No.
Because we didn't have the means to do so right now. So
exactly.
It's another reason why we should be blessed for what we got right now.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, like, I miss a lot of aspects of being able to meet up with friends. It's mainly honestly, a lot of the times it's mainly just the interaction with people.
Right. Absolutely.
But the actual, the productivity of work, that could be done anywhere when you think about it.
Right.
At least for what I have to do. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of bless, let's get right down to it.
Okay.
You are now working with Marvel. This was just totally out of the blue. And to work on an awesome series that the first issue is out right now. And it's called Tech on Avengers series. There you go. This is your very.
I actually just got this copy yesterday. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I had to order it in from a local shop here.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It is out. Look, I got a chance to check it out. I immediately subscribed to Cosmicology.
Much appreciated. So you're checking it out digitally then?
Oh yeah.
I'm
a graphic designer.
I'm going to tell you right now. I like how it came out in print, but it seems like the way I work is I work for a digital means because I'm looking at it, right? I think to me, it's definitely something special to see it in print. But there is a lot of detail that I incorporated into this that you do not see in print.
Right.
That is so small that I was like, why did I? It's something like yesterday I was flicking through. I was like, why did I spend this much time drawing that face when it's like a fraction of an inch on the print?
When you're using Cosmicology, the zoom in kicks in.
You can absolutely.
And that's the beauty.
That's how I worked for it, I suppose. So.
And that's because back in the 90s and everything when they were doing it the newsprint way, they didn't care. Like your Rob Liefelds and your Todd McFarlane's were doing the smaller panels, and it was like, all right, they could do a really quick sketch right here and nobody would notice because there's no such thing as zoom in now. It's totally different.
Oh yeah, because like if you look at those issues on like a digital means, you can see all those details. Like, oh, that's just a squiggly line.
Now it's microscopic.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of like it's finding a balance between those two things. That's kind of a tricky thing, but I mean, just being able to work on.
But along with that, the lighting, the coloring, the vibrance, the saturations, everything just comes in because you got this lit screen, and it's beautiful. And from a graphic designer perspective, I love it because I can, see it, for what it looks like and what it was intended. Coming straight out of your computer onto this. Right. It's either way, whether it's print or not. It's just beautiful work that you put in there.
Thank you so much.
So enjoyed this first issue. I'm looking forward to the others. How did this opportunity come about? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So I work for UDON. That's my primary thing. I'm kind of like, I do some things for them now, but not as much because this project has just taken up a lot of time in general. Jim Zub, the writer of this, he used to work for UDON.
Mm-hmm.
And, he, a few years ago, he wanted to do his own thing, like, do some independent books on image and stuff. So he created his own properties for there. He works for Marvel as a writer as well. And he contacted me last year, asking my availability and if I was interested in working with him, in collaborating with him again on something. And I was like, I mean, I don't have any projects I didn't have any projects at that time. I was just doing some freelance stuff, here and there, as always.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, like, I'm always down, and I've always wanted to work again with Jim. It's always fun working on his scripts. Like, he's a fun writer, so, and he understands what I'm into.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell me what the project was. He said
that is so Marvel.
He told me what they were doing a couple of tests. I think they had a couple of artists that they were testing out for it.
Right.
And he had thrown my name into it, into the actual the bowl of artists, I guess, for them to pick from. Right. So they were like, here is the designs, here is the script. Draw the last, like, the actual test page was the last page of issue 1. So I don't know who the other artists were involved,
right?
And if they even did the test. But I was like, all right. I mean, like, they, like, prior to that, also they told me that it's a collaboration with Bandai,
right?
And they were making action figures on it.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, SH Figure Arts is a line of action figures from Bandai Japan, which is
that's why the connection. I read that Bandai was a part of this, but I didn't know to what extent. And I know they have
Bandai
a toy
Tamashii
line.
Nations. It's a toy. It's an action figure line. That's why one of the alternate covers is the action figure cover.
Right.
I think it was cover D. It shows Iron Man. So SH Figure Arts is a Japanese action figure line. Like I collect action figures, as you can see behind me. There's a bunch of action figures and whatnot, and I got a couple scattered on my desk. But I collect a handful of action figures. And I have a handful of like SH Figure Arts from Bandai, so I was very familiar with what they were, talking about. So to me, that was like, all right, you're mixing up my enjoyment of my love for comics and my enjoyment of action figures. So that's my interests are even like are rising. And then he said, it has a tokusatsu vibe, which is a genre in Japan of like Sentai. It's called like special effects. That's what it stands for.
Right.
So Kamen Rider, Ultraman,
Power Rangers,
Sentai, like Power Rangers, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's got that vibe, and I'm like, that's right up my alley. That's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I was like, sure. I saw the designs, and I'm like, it's gorgeous, but this is gonna be a challenge for me because there's a lot of detail, and because I work digitally these days, it's almost a curse because I will try to include as much detail as I can in a suit, even though that's why when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, there's a lot of detail.
Right.
Like there's a lot of detail that didn't really, that you can see on the page, but it's so small that I feel like, the digital people will have a better time with it, with the print. Like, I think it came out great in print, but I think in digital, it can be appreciated more because you can really see the details. So I did the test, which is the final page, and I got the job. So that was that, and I was like, cool. They asked how I was for scheduling because I'd be doing all the artwork. I'm not sure how common that is in Marvel books,
right?
In general, because normally they work in teams where it's like the penciler, the inker, and then the colorist.
So you did the coloring as well?
I did everything.
That's the first time I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's definitely like this. I'm sure there's a couple of Marvel books that do it, or just general like books that do it in general. But I don't think it's as common.
I'm a Marvel fan, and I've been reading Marvel dating back to the '90s. When Jim Lee used to draw everything, and then he would have a color his signature colorist with him every single time, and other like Todd McFarlane, and he have his like I've never seen one a one-man band like this. It's how I'm used to working in general, because that's how I was in Udon and such. And plus, I mean, I can do just a line art, and I did it last year or the year before with that Venom one shot that I did, the Venom, where I only handled the pencils and the inks, which I enjoyed. But as much as I enjoy that, I see things in its final form in my head. Yeah. So like knowing where to, put the colors and knowing how much to put in the line art, it saves me either time or it gives me more, focus on the colors. You don't have to, revert back to talking to somebody, going back and forth to see.
Absolutely. And I didn't have that with Venom. And it's fine because I knew that the color artists would, do a bang up job. Yeah. And I like the results of that, but it's nice to be able to actually see what, see the final page in what I envisioned primarily.
But also with that said, and I agree with you on that, because, watching what you do with the Street Fighter series and other art projects that you work and works that you've done, you have your signature color scheme and your color style. It's really hard to find somebody that matches up, because I said, I've read comic books and manga a lot. I don't see, manga's always black and white, but in terms of US comics, I don't see people with your colors, with your color style. It's totally its own entity.
I think it's part of my style. Whenever, like, again, we'll take the Venom, the end, as an example, because that was like one of my first, that was the first Marvel interior gig that I did that was handled completely by another artist in the color department. And I looked at it, I was like, the end result's fantastic. But I'm looking at it, I'm like, I wouldn't have they did something that I wouldn't have done, which is cool because I personally love seeing others tackle my line art, just because it gives it a different perspective for me of how they would, interpret the line art.
Right.
So like I have my version, I have my ways of doing things, but seeing somebody else do it, someone who knows what they're doing, is always a treasure. It's always a treat for me,
Right.
So seeing that, I'm like, oh, they rendered Eddie Brock's face awesome in that panel, for example. And I'm like, I would have just done it differently. And I'm not even saying one is better than the other. I just say I love how different it would be,
Right.
So yeah, just like doing this book, it's fun to be able to actually just try and do what I can in what I see from my head, as just like translate from script to actual pages, I guess.
So, I think what drew me on to the idea of you doing this book the most, I think, is that your art style too. I'm a fan of mech designs. Dating back to Transformers, G1, and Gundam, and even bio designs like bio boosted Guyver. I see a little.
That's
bit
all
of that.
Tokusatsu, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
I didn't design anything here. It's all credited on the main page, but the hero designs are by Eiichi Shimizu. He did. Are you familiar with the Ultraman anime right now on Netflix?
The one on Netflix?
The CG, yeah, the one on Netflix.
My favorite one.
That's based off of manga that he works on. That's his designs.
Let me tell you, I wasn't a Ultraman fan up until I seen that Netflix series.
I love that Netflix series.
I can't wait. They're supposed to be doing another season.
Season 2 is coming soon.
I cannot wait. Everything about that was phenomenal.
I loved it. I was like, and I know people like I remember when that first came out, people were kind of going, oh, so this is Ultraman by way of Iron Man, right? Because it's a mech suit. And I'm like, right. Well, if you harken back, it's not. It's just a reinterpretation. It's right. So now, like the fact that it's kind of cycling back, to be honest, where it's like he's designing. Now they're designing like actual Iron Man and the Iron Avengers in this case, or the Tech-On armor. It's like it's a nice circle.
I praised the hell out of that series when I saw it. I don't. It drew the design, the character design, and the mech design drew me in immediately, and I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance, and I was blown away.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know, people have like issues with CG anime still at the moment, but I had no beef with it. Like I
think it's evolved a long way since the beginning stages of the 90s. It has come a long way.
It's come a long way. It's come a very long way.
To the point that it assimilates with the 2D now.
Yes.
And it didn't do that back then.
They can incorporate like the cell shaded aspect a lot better now than they could back then. Yeah.
And a lot of Netflix prides themselves on this anime style now. If you notice, if you look at all of like majority of their anime shows, they all pretty much do that.
They can, a lot of it do it better than others, obviously, but that's just how it's going to be.
And it's just going to get better from here. I just,
of course,
pretty much got from that point.
Of course.
But all right, so you played it off of his designs. Did you find it challenging to be able to?
Oh yeah. Because I'm given a turnaround sheet, basically the style guide, and I'm always referring back to it because I don't want to, as much as I want to put my own spin on it, which I do because I do have to streamline aspects. If I were to incorporate every single detail that they included, then mind you, a lot of the details would just be lost on the print and on the page. It's just, I can understand it from that point of view of designing it for, say, the action figure when that comes out. And I'm sure they actually, like, I looked at the action figures and I'm like, okay, stuff was slightly altered and changed as well. Yeah. So it's close enough to be, I would say it's more about, it's like 95% exactly of what was illustrated. So if that's a pretty high if you're asking.
I mean, I looked at both of your designs. I looked at his especially his variant cover.
He's main cover. He's the main cover artist.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And then I looked at yours at the end of at the last page of the issue. I was like, this is why I'm not drawing Transformers right now.
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. Like after drawing this armor for these many issues, every other page feels a lot easier.
Well, yeah, so I can imagine.
I'm thankful for that. Where I'm like, oh yeah, that's easy now. like that. It's almost, it feels like I'm cheating when I don't have to draw a lot of detail now.
Right.
I'm just like Transformers, I feel will still be a challenge because of their style design. They're more
the obtuse and acute angles that you gotta yeah.
But it's easier for me to work around it now. Yeah. So
absolutely. So do you have an actual favorite that you loved working on the most, or do you have a favorite design among the Avengers that you like?
That's tricky because because it's what's good about the issues is that they really focus on different Avengers.
Yeah.
Per issue, like everyone kind of has their shine. I personally still like, if we're talking in terms of what am I most looking forward to owning as an action figure,
yeah,
I think it's, I mean, I'm biased. Spider-Man. I'm a Spider-Man guy. Do you know?
Yeah.
I'm just a Spider-Man guy in general.
Right.
Like I love, like my favorite Scarlet Spider. I know people don't like Scarlet Spider, but
I'm there with you, bud.
I'm a Spider-Man guy. I'm a Scarlet Spider. I've got the Scarlet Spider hot toys up there hanging, if you can see it.
Nice.
Right there. So I'm a Scarlet Spider guy. So I do like Spider-Man the most. What I do really like about the armor and the armor designs in general is that they're not all the same.
Right.
I know people's issues was, oh, it's just going to be everyone in Iron Man armor. Actually, no. It's Tony Stark designed,
but they have their own characteristics in it.
100%. Like,
yeah,
there are some similarities. Like, there are some aspects that will cross throughout.
That Black Panther Panther suit was awesome.
One is sick. I love, honestly, like, one thing that surprised me when I first saw it all was I loved Captain Marvel's one.
Yes,
that one came to me. I was like, "Oh, hers is awesome." Like, that's the thing. It's hard. I love all of them. Drawing them is a different story. It's crazy. It's I love all of them. I love all of them.
What's crazy is that, like, you just gave us a tease of what we're gonna come and what's to come in the other issues. And
it's definitely, like, I gotta say, if you're familiar with like Sentai and stuff, it follows that pattern. It's like very episodic.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be. I just think it's supposed to be a fun series.
But that's the way I read it. That's the way I read it. I read it in the same like Sentai, Super Sentai,
exactly,
/ manga enjoyment.
Yeah, it's a tokusatsu feel. It's got the monster of the week, or monster of the issue. Monster of the issue in this case. The underlying villain that's like, gotta get you guys somehow.
Which Red Skull looks perfectly like a Sentai villain.
He is straight up a Sentai villain. That's why I saw his design and I'm like, I hope, like, I really hope they make the action figures of all of the characters here.
Yeah,
I just want them all. Like, whatever they make, I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna get it without a doubt. But I would love them all, and I really do want the Spider-Man. Right. That's a bias though, but I'd love all the Avengers. Yeah.
So I had Marvel and DC writer Jeffrey Thorne on the show recently, and I asked him about his thoughts on when he would write, or when whatever he writes come to life in the form of the artist depiction. Can you walk us through your process and how you work with writers to create images that they see from their narrative?
Interesting. So I'm usually just given a script, right, from the writer. Because these designs weren't designed by either of us, they were, designed by, the people over at Bandai and the designers in question. Yeah. It's that kind of was off of us. Yeah. It was on the table. But in the human forms and all that type of stuff, in the, obviously in issue 1, you see them without suits and stuff.
As we know them. Yeah.
As we know them, right? For the most part, at least. That, like, following the script, it's what, in regards to getting the script, so long, it's very straightforward. It's like, we get it basically outlines what's wanted per panel, who's saying what, and in terms of the focus and the panel layout, that's up to me.
Right.
So I would usually, hand over or submit like the loose pencils just to help guide what's going on. Even I will thankfully, what's good about digital is it allows me to be able to shift things quickly. In terms of,
exactly, because they're
also,
you're basically layering, right?
Absolutely, like they're done in layers. It's like a very time consuming, but it's good because I actually even here's one thing that a lot of I guess people like comic artists, like up and coming comic artists, need to remember is that word and bubble placements should always be considered. So in the digital phase of things, or I guess the whole thing is digital, but in the sketch phase of things, I actually incorporate where I think bubble placement would be, like speech bubble placement.
Yeah.
So that way, when they see it, they can actually see the flow of things.
So bubble placement to you in the comic book world, to me, because I'm an artist, but I'm still layman to the structure and design of comics. You know, bubble placement isn't like kind of having that negative space.
It is negative space.
It is basically negative space to give you that balance and placement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And here's the thing about like with comics, it's like people who say they want to work on comics, or they want to work on they want to work on comics and such. They think it's just covers and pinups. It's like absolutely, but that's good thing to have. But you need to be able to at least have solid flow and story. That's why I read a lot of manga, and they're really good at that. Yeah, in terms of flow, and negative spacing is key because that's where it's either space for effects or bubbles, so I have to take those into account. And if you see a bare page, like a page without the text, without colors, just line out, you might think, oh, there's a lot of open spaces. Like, because you have to consider where the bubbles will go, because you don't know how much, like, that's why it's nice to have a script where you know how much they're going to say.
Right.
And for the most part, they, the letterer fully understood, and they place things obviously in better spots that I would have, but at least I left the spots there for them to do that. And it creates the balance,
absolutely, albeit asymmetrical, balance, if you will. So it is kind of like it does have a design aspect in a sense.
Oh, 100%.
The philosophy has to. The fundamental philosophy of design is in there.
It has to, because if you don't, and plus, like, you don't want to, it also would save time for you to, like, could you imagine having to draw a whole page, draw all the little details in the page, and then have those details be covered up by a bunch of bubbles and sound effects?
But again, that's the beauty of digital, and having these new, having these Adobe programs and all this stuff that allows you to easily move things around so gracefully.
As opposed to easy is kind of like a loose term, because to me, once it's done, once the page is done, it's done. That's why a lot of the planning prior to getting to that final stage is key.
Yeah.
I like to show as much as I can in the sketch or the digital pencil stage.
Yeah.
Before I even dive into inks or the digital inks or the colors, because if I don't do that, then it's going to end up more work after the fact. And thankfully I haven't had to go back on anything to change something.
Right. Which is why I appreciate when you post on your Instagram page, is that you always show the, all the steps that you take.
I love doing that. I personally love doing that.
I think it's a great thing. I think more artists should do it, in a sense that it leaves out the misconception.
Absolutely.
Of what, from A to B. Because I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of people, non-artists or artists who, think that they understand what goes on until they get in there. They don't know the steps that happens. And I think it's a great lesson when following your Instagram page, to really see how everything gets from point A to point B. And of course, you never shows you the time and
for sure
attention to detail you go through to get to that point.
Sure. And to be fair, I love when other artists actually post, like, because I have a couple of time-lapse videos on YouTube and stuff as well. And it's interesting to see. I love seeing how other artists do that also, because depending on their style, sometimes they'll actually, while working on, like, say they've got a baseline there, there's a lot of going back and forth with that. With me, once the ink's done, there's no change of the line.
Yeah.
It's all about, like, this is my final line art. This is how it's going to be. I see some artists where they'll actually redraw noses, reshift stuff like that. And I'm like, to me, that's amazing, because their style allows for that. But my style is completely different, where I'm still somewhat old school in the process of the method.
Yeah.
But it's still I've got a process to it still, you know.
Right.
And yeah, showing it like the whole showing, you know, the base steps is just something that I've been doing for Patreon. It's just more stuff for them to see. But yeah, I could obviously show more steps, but it's also time consuming to show those steps.
Yes, it is.
It's like, oh, here's the first layer of shades. Here's the highlights. I'm like, I could get it that in depth if given the time, but it's also time taken away.
No, I think you do enough.
Yeah, I feel like, all right, but like I show enough to show this is the loose sketch, this is the base sketch, this is the clean lines, this is the color flats. And
I think it really gives them I think what you do is just right. I think because it's not like, I think a lot of people assume, whether they're artists or not, that you just draw the full thing first. You don't do a rough sketch. You don't go and then you just go into color or whatever. They don't understand the layer factors with it, that you have to start with a rough sketch and then you do the outline before that. You know, they never took still life. They never done
I mean, it's all it is just like with the base sketch and whatnot, it's all just foundation stuff. Like if those things aren't solid enough, then it's, you know, it's going to fall in the end. It's not going to be as strong as it could be. So yeah. And plus, honestly, at this point, it's just more things to share on the page as well. Yeah. Like I don't like reposting older stuff, for example, on Instagram, because it's, you know, if you can scroll back, then you can see some old stuff. And that's fine if people do that. That's perfectly fine. It's just, that's not what I do. So I'd rather show, you know, by posting, you know, the various steps, it's just more stuff to consistently have.
So I got one more question for you, but Jeff, it's always a pleasure having you, man. You are awesome.
Thanks again. Thanks again. This is great.
So, and in reference to the shirt that I'm wearing,
yes,
any chance that you will be doing another Random Views series or even another original project after this? Has that come to your mind?
Oh yeah. I've actually volume 2 of Random Views is finished. We're actually, I think the goal is to launch it next year. Okay. It's actually, by this point, it's like 2 years old, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Right now. Volume 2. Like we were supposed to launch it last year, but
gee, why did that didn't happen?
Right. So timing wasn't the best. So we're actually, I think from what I was told last, we're going to try and launch it next year, which is if I could work on that for the rest of my life, I would be very happy.
And to those who never got a chance to read that, I highly recommend going to UDON Entertainment, going to Cosmology, even going to the stores if you can. Check out Random Views. It is another fun, great creation.
Thank you. It's just that one. It's kind of, it's whatever. Like it's just me drawing.
That's the fun part about it. It's just like there's no rules.
Serious.
There's no conformity.
And it's whatever I wanted to do. Like the first volume at this point, it's about 10, 11 years old, really.
Yeah.
So that again, like I would love to work on that more consistently, but that doesn't pay. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of independent.
But the fact that you're able to do it is
100%. I'm super thankful that there's an avenue for me to actually be able to do that.
Right. And you know what I love about it? It first of all, your pages move. And that's what I love about your style. It always moves, even though it's still. There's a lot of it could just come out right out of the pages. Right. 2, it reminds me of a particular anime that I watched back then called Photon, which was just an out of box anime.
Thank you so much. You're like, you see, this is good because
was I right on this?
100%. I love Photon. You're actually the first person to bring that up.
Really?
That really noticed that. Well, at least that's spoken to me regarding.
It was one of my all-time classic.
Yeah, same here.
Unappreciated or underrated anime.
Underrated, underappreciated. That is so overlooked.
Gorgeous work of art in animation.
I love it. I love that.
But it was just so out of pocket.
You're brilliant. This is good.
It was so out of pocket. No. It was just so, but it was to me though, it was literally the epitome of asymmetry.
I love it. Yeah.
It was a unbalanced, but there was a balance. Mm-hmm. Everything was in different places everything was going on here, but there was a balance to it at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Random Views gives me that same vibe, and that's where immediately I picked up on it.
That's one of the best compliments I've ever received about Random Views, honestly, because I love Photon. It's overlooked. There's not a lot of people that actually know it,
especially in this day and age.
Right, for sure. It's a simple story. There's really not a lot to it, but that's fun for me. Where I'm like, it's nothing to be taken seriously. It's just here's a random. It's just here's a bunch of dudes, a bunch of folks, people of different just backgrounds and whatnot, just having a ball, just having
exactly.
It's kooky. It looks really nice, and I love it. So yeah, that's the first time anyone's brought that up regarding.
Awesome.
So I'm glad. Yeah, that's
well.
great.
I can always tell you this: if one person figured it out, I'm pretty sure there's a amount of people who also figured it out as well.
If not, either way, one person did, and that's I'm very.
But it pleases me to be the first.
That. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I was like, that's a surprise that one, you know it, that two, that it was like, hey,
that's how much of a otaku that I am. I've been since the 90s, man.
That's very niche.
Oh yeah, it very much is. Very fringe, if you will.
Yeah. Incredibly for an anime fan, especially. Yeah, that's under the radar.
I would throw in some names that people today don't understand or won't know, and it's like
I don't bother anymore. I don't bother bringing names.
It's pointless. It's like, we're far gone.
And plus, at this point, if you enjoy the medium of anime and manga, thumbs up to you. And it's mainstream.
Apparently, we do enjoy it because now, like Crunchyroll for 1.2 bill.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody, but see, that's smart because they know that's where the money is at this point. That's where the future is going. So,
look, I had this conversation with people before about whether anime was becoming mainstream. They didn't, for some reason, see it. Meanwhile, Goku and the Macy's Parade, the 2020 Olympics was supposed to have an anime theme to it, which was going to have all the iconic characters like Sailor Moon and Naruto and Goku.
They got the games in, so that's good.
Right. It was, but we see a lot of this, and now this big acquisition and merger.
It's huge.
For 1.2 billion.
Yeah, that's huge. That's
insane.
A lot of It's good. It's good. It's what's push. It's going to push it further. And I know some people like, oh, it's no longer pure. And I'm like, if you're thinking that way, then hasn't been pure.
That's always this discussion. It happens in rock and roll. It happens in hip hop. It happens in every genre and fandom and format. It just, everybody is so attuned to what they loved back then, but don't want it to evolve.
I get it. It's like, but it needs to keep up with the time.
Well, they say they say they wanted to evolve, but when it evolves, it's like, oh, it wasn't like when I had it.
Yeah. It's not how I wanted it. But there's check it. There's still creators out there that love that form too, and that are making that form still. So it's not a problem.
Like, you know what I mean? I grew up with Akira Toriyama, Masami Obari, and Tatsunoko, and all that.
That's Obari, bro.
Exactly. Which, by the way, I saw hints of that on this issue, on his first issue too. I
Obari
felt that
is Mecha. That dude, Tekka Man.
Yes.
That's,
and hell, the Fatal Fury series alone.
Heck, dude. Yeah, we can go on. We can go on for days, hours and hours at this point. But yeah,
but it's awesome. I'm glad that you are able, that you're announcing that this Random Views series is coming. I really enjoyed it. And for those who don't know, it is available on Amazon Unlimited too. So you can read it there as well.
Did not know that.
Oh yeah, they have it up for subscribers on there. You can enjoy it there too. So
wicked. It's a fun read. It's something simple. It's very lighthearted. So there's not like, you don't have to go to it expecting a lot of baggage.
Right.
And that's to me, that's what I enjoy. I don't have a serious story to tell. I just want to draw something that I want to draw. It's that simple. Right. And it's really fun for me. So,
well, you do a fantastic job, and a good sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, what is amongst all this? What is? We probably just answered the question for me, but what is next for you at this point?
What's next for me is to finish off Avengers Tech On, and after that, I don't know. I don't know.
It's our journey to get you a cheesesteak. That's our next.
Dude. I wish it was just a thing that most shops would have, most restaurants would have. It does at this point. It doesn't even have to be
the original thing.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be the original.
Just big slabs of meat into cheese.
Just a facsimile of what, just a fraction of how good it was there. I will gladly take it right now. That's how deprived I am of a lot of foods, like Japanese food in general too. Right. I miss just authentic Japanese food, and I'll take just, just random sushi at this point and be like, something close enough. That's close enough at this point, And I'm missing it that much. I'm missing it that much.
To our listeners that are from Philly, who are so accustomed to the cheesesteak and just take it for granted. Look at my man right here.
That's definitely one thing that I like. That's one thing that this, the pandemic and the lockdown has definitely should show a lot of people. It's like, do not take anything for you. Absolutely. That's why I'm like, while I miss a lot of things, I'm super, super, super grateful and that I was able to experience a lot of things prior to, the travel and whatnot. Because, now I can always go, I can always have something to look forward to also, but also look back at, and go, that was awesome. And I'm glad I at least did something prior to everything that's going on.
And trust me, and that's why I have you here, because I am extremely grateful for getting to meet you, forever knowing about you. And then
absolutely
here's the timeline, the unbeknownst timeline of us. 2014 and 2017, I went to San Diego Comic-Con. I went to UDON's booth. I met Longbow. I met Yoshinori there as well, of course. And then you also popped up. You were working in the booth. 2019 comes. There's a announcement that both of you are coming to Philadelphia, and I went crazy on social media about it. My people, Repop, contacted me because I was working with them already. It was like, I saw that you were getting a little bit excited about this. How about you guys do a panel together for Talk Time Live? I'm like, you ain't got to say nothing. It's done.
Exactly.
It's done from there. And just getting to meet you guys. You guys are a class act, both you and Long.
Thank you.
It's just been an awesome experience. Ben, it was an awesome experience last year, and it's even an awesome experience right now to get a chance. And I am very happy of everything that's happening with you, despite all the circumstances going on. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm glad that, I'm super thankful and grateful that I'm still able to do what I'm doing, to be able to still do what I love doing, what I enjoy doing. So yeah, can't take any of this for granted. Yeah, absolutely
not. And it shows that you don't. And because of that, I believe that you good things happen to people who don't take it for granted either. So
I hope that's the case. Yeah, let's hope that's the case.
I keep saying it to myself every day, damn it.
We have to believe in something, and that's
my entire desk is made of wood, and I knock on it every day.
Always knocking on it. Always knocking on it. Yeah.
So without further ado, let's give you some plugs. Let's tell your fans and our listeners where you can listen, where you can check out your work, where they can find you, where you can get these awesome shirts, by the way, as well.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Chamba. It's just the Chamba. It's just easier that way. Yeah, it's easier. On YouTube, I think also it's the Chamba on YouTube. I forget. But on those, like on the Twitter, I have links to other places like Redbubble and shops where I sell, shirt designs and
which Redbubble came from this right here.
Yeah.
This lovely New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes. Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, I've got a couple stuff there where I sell a couple prints on imprint and stuff as well, but mainly you can get shirts and stuff. But yeah, follow me. I've also got Patreon for people who want to support me that way. Yeah. It's not needed, but if you want some extra stuff, that's actually a way to get a digital commission when I'm not available for commissions.
Right.
And that's how some people are still getting artwork for themselves without having a kind of bypassing the commission outlet. Obviously, there's more options with commissions, like they have more say in it,
right,
per se. But that again, that is a way to get artwork from me without having when I'm not available at the time being. So, but yeah, those are the avenues that you can primarily find me on.
Well, I'll tell you what, sir. I really appreciate you coming back on. I'm really happy and blessed that you are healthy, that your family is healthy, that everything's healthy-esque. That everything is
a little sleep deprived, but that's normal.
Right. Because it is uber nighttime where you're at right now. And
again, my schedule doesn't matter.
There's still the guilt.
Matter. Oh, there kind of is. No, don't trust me. Do not feel guilty. As soon as we're done with this, I'm getting back to work. So it's fine for me. Like I would say I'm closer to US time at the moment. I mean, I shouldn't be, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Well, we all work our own clocks.
I tell you this: if it is anything I could do to help you get back into the States when this is all clear and everything's done, I will do it. Look,
oh, good, much appreciated.
I am going. Look, when we get back in Philly for whenever they do Keystone, I will be glad to put a little hint in there and repops here. Same goes for New York. You'll be missed for that, definitely. But kudos to you. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to. I guarantee you, we will see each other in person again.
Hopefully that's the case, man. I mean, like, if not, obviously this year.
Look, I got wood on my desk.
Dude, my whole desk is made of wood too. I'm knocking, trust me. I'm gonna tell you right now, this year's not gonna happen.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This year, I was already expecting this year to be like, oh, I'm gonna be working on stuff at home anyway. So
right.
Deal. Next year, there's more of a chance, but the year after that, has to.
Well, I pray for all of you over there. I wish you guys the best. I wish you the best of safety.
Likewise, see you in yours over there, man.
Absolutely. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother cake, bro. Right. But thank you so much, folks. I hope you really enjoyed this very special and fun episode of Talk Time Live Exclusive. On behalf of myself and the one and only Jeff Chamba Cruz, all I gotta say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG presents Talk Time Live. We are out there. Take care and be safe, everybody.